I worked the night shift at a small park called Maple Grove Park, just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota. It wasn't a big place, just a few playgrounds, a few rows of wooden benches, a circular pond, and a string of yellow lights around the grassy edge. During the day, it was crowded with kids running around screaming, adults eating sandwiches, and sparrows perched on the benches. But at night, when the street lights came on and the mist began to rise from the pond, the park became a completely different place. My job was simple: check the fence, pick up a few abandoned cans, lock the restroom, and then patrol the playground until morning. No one wanted to work the night shift. It was cold, dreary, and hardly anyone talked. I only took it because the pay was $2 an hour more. My first night went fine. I brought a coffee pot, a radio, and an old golf cart that I used to haul trash during the day. I heard the wheels roll on the tile, the wind through the swing set, and the rusty metal smell of the old rides. Everything was familiar, quiet. But from the third night, I began to hear laughter, not loud, just a few small laughs, mixed with the sound of dry leaves. I thought it was some children playing near the north house, but when I got near the fence, there was no one. The laughter stopped as if someone was listening. I turned on my flashlight, looked around, and saw only the shadows of trees and fog. I reported it to the manager the next morning, but he just laughed. "You know, the young people around here like to sneak out at night to scare the security guards. Don't worry about it." I thought so too, until Saturday night. That night was colder than usual. The fog was so thick that the yellow lights were blurred like water. I patrolled the main play area: slides, merry-go-rounds, swings, and an old red and white plastic clown statue. It was about 5 feet tall, wearing a top hat and a big smile. It looked funny in the daytime, but at night, under the dim light, the face was really wrong. Around 11 o'clock, as I passed by that area, I heard a creaking sound, like someone sitting on a swing. I turned on the light. Sure enough, a swing was gently swaying. There was no wind. No one. I walked over, put my hand on the chain warm. I couldn't explain it. As I turned away, I caught a glimpse of the clown statue. In the dim light, I saw it tilt its head slightly, not much, just enough for me to feel those plastic eyes looking at me. I told myself it was just the light, and continued walking. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, I stopped at the guardhouse near the lake. I turned on the radio to check the frequency. Suddenly, through the static, a hoarse, distant voice rang out. "Are you still there?" I turned it off immediately, thinking someone must have used the wrong channel. But when I turned it back on, the frequency was empty. Only the wind blew through the speakers. It was morning, and I made my final round. When I returned to the amusement park, I noticed the clown statue had turned its face away. It had been facing the lake, but now it was facing the fence where I was standing. I froze. No one had a key to move it, and it weighed more than 200 pounds. I took a picture and sent it to the manager saying, "Someone in the park, the statue is turned." No response. The next morning I told the story. The manager looked at my picture and frowned. "The picture is blurry. Are you sure?" "I saw it with my own eyes." "Maybe you're tired. Get some rest." I didn't rest. I needed the money, and I didn't want to believe I was scared. The next night, the fog was thicker. I made my second round and the radio came on alone. The voice came back hoarse, weak, seemingly right behind me. "Tonight, I'll see you." I turned around, only to see fog and dim yellow lights. I ran to the playground, intending to check, and I saw the small warehouse door at the end of the park was open. It was locked all year round, only used for maintenance. I shined my flashlight in. It was dark, cold, and smelled of old paint. I took a few steps in, the wooden floor creaking. In the corner, something lit up an old radio just like the one I was wearing. I bent down to pick it up and heard someone outside the door, slow and drawn out. "Are you still there?" I turned around in surprise. No one was there. Only the door was slowly closing, even though there was no wind. I rushed out, panting. When I looked back, I saw the clown statue standing at the head of the path I don't know how long ago, only about 10 meters away, tilting its head to look. I took out the golf cart keys, drove straight to the security station. I sat there until morning, not daring to come out. When the sun rose, I returned to the amusement park. The clown statue had returned to its original position, facing the lake. On the ground, there were muddy shoe prints the size of a child's shoe that circled the carousel and led to the edge of the water. I followed them to the wet ground. The footprints stopped at the edge of the lake, then disappeared. I reported back. The manager was with me this time. He looked around, then said, "Are you sure they're shoe prints? Maybe it was the rain." I pointed at the statue. "And that? It weighs almost 100 kilos. Who could carry it anywhere?" That's what he said. But when I lifted the cloth covering the back of the statue, I saw something etched into its plastic back, faint, scrawled letters as if written with fingernails. "I'm here. I'm not sleeping." I shivered. The manager told me not to touch it. He would check the cameras. But the park's camera system had long since stopped working at night. The UPS had failed, and no one had fixed it. That night, I arrived later than usual. When I opened the gate, the radio came on again, but this time it was singing. A child's voice, small and broken, like from an old lullaby. "Round and round, the horses go." I turned off the radio, my heart pounding. As I passed the amusement park, I saw the carousel moving. Not fast, not slow, as if someone were pushing it steadily. Under the yellow lights, the horses were flying in the mist, their paint peeling, their black eyes empty. I left, went back to the station. But around 4 a.m., I heard something rattling outside. I went to check. In the golf cart lights, I saw the clown lying on its back on the ground, about 10 meters from where it had been. Beneath it, the ground was wet, with deep handprints. Not plastic hands, human hands. 5 fingers, clearly marked, sunk in the mud. I asked for the next morning off. The manager agreed, probably because I looked bad. He simply said, "You're not the first person to see strange things there. We've changed 3 guards." I asked, "Where are the previous ones?" 1 moved state, 2 quit. They didn't say much. I left Maple Grove Park that day, but I still lived in the same town. I avoided going through that area, even during the day. But one time, last winter, I had to drive around because the main road was closed. As I passed, I saw the playground lights on, even though it was 2 a.m. In the middle of the lawn, in the thin mist, someone in a dark blue security uniform stood leaning against the fence, head tilted to one side. I didn't slow down, but as my car passed, the radio in the car turned on no channel, just the sound of the wind, then mixed with a hoarse voice, very close. "Are you still there?" I went home, turned off all the lights, sat in silence. I knew I didn't want to look back, but sometimes, in the middle of the night, when the wind whistled through the window, I heard the swing creak, steady, slow, and the faint smell of old paint. Someone said that the clown statue was taken down last year, but I didn't believe it. I thought it was still there, standing in the middle of the empty park, waiting for another night shift. I don't know why I'm telling this story. Maybe it's been 4 years, and I can still hear my son laughing as we pass that park. Or maybe it's because no one believes me, so I want to tell it just once to some stranger. I live in Chicago, near Lincoln Park, on the north side of the city. It's not a big place, just a small park with a few maple trees, a pond, a playground, and wooden benches around it. My son Eli, who's 7, and I go there every Sunday afternoon. Eli is a quiet kid. He likes to draw, and he likes to take pictures with an old film camera I bought at a flea market. He always has the camera on him, with a strap that's bigger than his body. I still remember him saying, "Cameras capture things you don't see, Mom." I just laughed. I thought it was a child's imagination. It was Sunday, the 19th of September 2021. The sun was mild, the wind was cool, and the leaves were starting to fall. We brought sandwiches and orange juice and sat under a tree near the swing set. The kids were laughing and joking, and the parents were talking. I remember seeing an old man sitting on a bench facing the lake, wearing a brown jacket and a woolen hat, staring down at the water. I just glanced at him, not thinking anything of it. Around 5 p.m., Eli said he wanted to take more pictures around the slide. I agreed, saying, "Just walk around, Mom can still see you." He nodded, smiled, and ran off. I sat back and opened my phone. About 10 minutes later, I looked up. The slide was empty. I called his name. No one answered. I ran over. No one was there. His camera was lying in the sand, the strap broken. I picked it up, it was still warm. I ran around the park, asking everyone, but no one had seen it. A woman said she saw a little boy in a yellow jacket walking toward the lake with a man. I asked what he looked like, and she said, tall, thin, wearing a brown jacket, a wool hat. My heart stopped. I remembered the old man sitting on the bench by the lake. I rushed over. The bench was empty. I called the police right away. They arrived within 10 minutes. They searched the entire park, around the lake, the walkways, the restrooms. Nothing. No footprints, no screams, no traces. One of the police asked me, "Are you sure your son didn't run home?" I yelled, almost crying. He never went anywhere by himself. I stayed there until midnight. They cordoned off the area, brought in dogs, drones, and spotlights. Nothing. Eli disappeared. The next day, they looked at the surveillance cameras around the park. There was one at the entrance, facing the lake. I watched with them. In the 5:02 p.m. video, Eli ran toward the slide, stopping to take a photo. A minute later, a man in a brown jacket and a wool hat came up. He was a few meters away from the boy. His face was unclear. Eli turned to look, then raised his camera as if to take a photo, and then the image went grainy for 3 seconds. When he came back, there was no one. No Eli, no man. The camera was lying on the sand. No one could explain the grainy image. I kept the camera as evidence. The police copied the film, but I asked to keep the original film. 3 weeks later, when the case had not progressed, I took the film to a small shop on Clark Street. The shop owner, an old man with thick glasses, took nearly 2 hours to develop it. When I returned, he said, "You took a lot of strange pictures." I asked why. He handed me the photo album. The first photo was of Eli and me eating a sandwich. The second photo is of the slide. The third a shot of me from behind, as if someone were standing far away, looking through the lens. I don't remember taking that photo. The fourth photo, Eli standing next to the slide, looking to the right of the frame, smiling slightly. Behind, very blurry, in the shade of the trees, is the silhouette of a man in a brown shirt, his face unclear, his head tilted slightly. The last photo is the one that makes me shiver. It was taken from the same angle as the previous one, but this time there was only the man, standing alone in the sand, looking straight into the camera. He held a woolen cap in his hand, and right at the neck, his skin was wrinkled like paper. I couldn't say anything. I reported it to the police. They took the photos, but a few days later returned them, saying they had found nothing suspicious. A policeman whispered to me as he left, "You should rest, don't torment yourself. Sometimes children get lost." I wanted to slap him. I started going back to the park every day, at the same time, in the same place. I thought maybe Eli would come back, as if he had never been there. I sat on a wooden bench near the lake, watching the ducks swim, listening to the children's laughter. Everything looked exactly the same as that day, but something was different: the air, the smells, the sounds. I felt like this park was no longer the same place. One afternoon, I sat alone as the park was about to close. The yellow lights were on, and the light was falling across the lake. I took out Eli's camera, an old one, with film still in it. I held it up and took a few random shots. When the film was developed, there was one that kept me awake. In the middle of the photo, on the far side of the lake, there was a child in a yellow jacket, standing next to a wooden bench. Next to him, a man in a brown shirt, his head tilted. I was there when the photo was taken, but I didn't see anyone. I showed the photo to the police again. They said it was probably a reflection of light or another object in the lens. I laughed. I didn't argue. I knew they wouldn't believe me. I went to the park less often after that. But sometimes, I still saw someone standing on the same bench by the lake, right where the old man used to sit. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but one time in the winter, I drove by, my windows fogged up, and I saw two figures, one big, one small, standing by the lake, in the snow. I stopped, opened my windows. No one was there, but in my car, the radio was on by itself, crackling. Then a very small, childlike voice. "Mommy, look." I didn't go there anymore. I sold my house and moved to another state. Last May, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph of Lincoln Park Lake. In the lower right corner, handwritten in black ink, was the following: "The camera catches things you don't see, Mom." The writing was Eli's. I took the photo to the digital imaging lab. The technician told me, "You know, this isn't a film print. It was taken with a new camera, less than 2 weeks ago." I didn't tell anyone else. Sometimes when I turned on my phone at night, I'd see the camera pop up without me touching it. The screen was black, but in the middle of the frame, there was a small spot of light like the reflection of a yellow jacket in the darkness. I thought Eli was still somewhere, maybe right there in that park, under the yellow lights, amid the creaking of the swings. And maybe he was still holding the camera up, pointing it at me. I worked as a mechanic at a small amusement park called Fairhill Funland in suburban Ohio. It had opened in 1985 and was the pride of the town. But when I started, in 2012, it was in disrepair. Peeling paint, old rides, and the same old theme music playing over and over again from the speakers, as if the park were tired of it. My job was simple. Check the equipment every morning, lubricate the wheels, change lights, patch the roller coaster tracks. Sometimes I had to stay late to check the generator. I wasn't afraid of the night shift. But there was one night, one I'll never forget, that made me never want to go back there again. It was the 13th of August 2015, a Thursday. The park closed at 9 p.m. At about 9:30, I was still at the Skyrider area, because there had been reports of a strange metallic noise coming from Car 4. When I arrived, the lights in that area had dimmed down, leaving only a few dim headlights shining on the silver steel rails. I climbed the stairs and shone my light along the rails. The wind blowing through the steel made a slight whistling sound. I saw everything was fine, except for a long, unusually deep scratch on the joint of rail 22. I bent down to inspect it, touched it with my hand, and heard a very faint metallic clanking somewhere below. I thought someone was still there. I called out, "Is anyone down there? Maintenance." No answer. I shone my light down below the rail frame. In the far corner, between the interlocking iron posts, I saw a pair of brown leather shoes, covered in dust, placed neatly on the cement floor. No one was around. I got off to check, but when I got there, the shoes were gone. Instead, there were two deep, oily footprints on the floor, leading deep into the old storage area where the broken equipment was stored. That storage area had been closed since 1999, after a roller coaster accident that killed 2 people and injured 4. It was said that the wheel on Car 4 broke off at the steepest curve, causing the car to flip over. I wasn't there when it happened, but former employees said there was something wrong with the design, and management tried to cover it up. I grabbed a flashlight and followed the footprints to the storage door. It was chained, but the old, rusty lock would pop open with a hard knock. It was dark inside. The air smelled thick with oil and metal. The floor was littered with old parts, wheels, cables, iron frames. I shined my light and saw a blue maintenance uniform hanging on the wall, covered in dust. Its name tag, faded only A. Collins, could be read. I remembered the name. He was the chief engineer the year of the accident. It was said that Collins was so traumatized by the accident that he committed suicide in this warehouse. I backed away, about to go out, when I heard the sound of a train moving. It was very faint, but enough to give me goosebumps. The Skyrider had completely shut off. There couldn't be any cars moving. I ran out, shone my light on the track, nothing. But the headlights at the end of the track suddenly turned on, clearly illuminating train number 4, standing at the top of the steepest slope. I was sure it had been at the station, with its brakes locked. I shouted into the radio, "Central Station, who just turned on the power to the Skyrider?" No one answered. There was static, then a distorted voice. "Report, checked, car number 4. The voice was hoarse, heavy, and very much like Collins. I stood there, frozen. The car began to slide, slowly, the metal screeching. It hurtled down the slope in the darkness. No people, no lights, no sound of machinery. As it passed me, the wind blew so hard that I had to duck. I could see the number 4 painted white on the body of the car, and a handprint on the glass door, as if someone had pressed their face against it before the car started moving. The car stopped at the station, as light as if it had never moved. I ran down. The door opened. The inside was empty, except for a pair of brown leather shoes, placed neatly on the seat. I turned away, my heart pounding. As I left the area, I heard the sound of metal falling behind me. An old rusted sign fell to the ground. Under the dust, I read the words, "In memory of A. Collins, 1950, 1999. I left the park at 3 a.m., without telling anyone. The next morning, I arrived early and told the supervisor. He looked at me for a long time, then sighed. "You're not the first person to see it. Take a few days off." I asked, "What about the people before me?" "Two quit, one disappeared." That answer left me speechless. I was about to quit, but for the money, I stayed another month. Every night after that night, I heard the sound of the train slowing down, even though the power was off. Every time I arrived, car number 4 always stopped at a different location. During the day, it returned to the station, as if it had never moved. Another night, I was called because the sensor system detected someone in the Skyrider area at 1 a.m. I went with the guard. When we shined the light on the track, we saw a silhouette of a man in a maintenance uniform, wearing a hat, bending down to fix something. The guard called out, "What shift are you on?" The man didn't answer, just stood up straight. The light passed over, illuminating the nameplate A. Collins. When we arrived, there was no one left. On the ground, there were only 2 footprints of engine oil, stopped right at the edge of the track. The following week, Fairhill Funland closed for good. Management announced the demolition of the entire roller coaster because of a safety hazard. But the night before the construction crew arrived, the security system registered movement at 2:47 a.m. Car number 4 started up, made a complete circuit around the track, and then stopped at the station. No one touched it. 2 years later, I was working in another state. One day, while watching the news, I saw a small article. Fairhill Funland burned completely overnight, cause unknown. The newspaper photo was blurry, but I recognized the only thing intact in the rubble was the steel frame of car number 4 and a charred nameplate, A. Collins. I turned off the TV. But that night, as I sat in my new workshop, I heard a metallic screech somewhere, the same rhythm I had heard at Fairhill. And when I look out the window, I see a faint red light flashing by, like a reflection from a roller coaster warning light. Maybe I imagine it. Maybe I've carried the obsession for too long. But sometimes in my dreams, I'm in the middle of the old park, sitting in the Skyrider, and the person sitting next to me doesn't say anything, just smiles. On his chest, the name tag gleams in the light. A. Collins.